Hello again. As you know, I am Eli the computer guy. That is Texas the corgi. Tonto the corgi is running around on the ground, and we do, as we do every weekday, the Daily Blob Show. So the Daily Blob Show is my little 2-hour talk show where I try to talk to you guys about the real world of technology. The things that make us money, the things that get us hired, the things that get us promoted. All of those really, really cool, important things that they simply, many times, kind of sort of skip over in school. That is what I am trying to teach you guys here in the Daily Blobs, and that's why I'm here every day. So basically, the Daily Blobs have 3 different sections. The first section is a topical component where I talk about something going on in the current world of technology. So today, I'm really happy to say we have an interview with Jason Hogan, who is the managing director of Experis IT here in Baltimore, Maryland. So basically, this guy is the manager of a tech staffing firm. So again, you guys keep wanting to get hired. You guys keep wanting to get things like jobs and paychecks and all that kind of stuff. And so I brought him in and we talked for a while about all of the different things that you should be taking into account if you're going to be dealing with a staffing firm. Even what is a staffing firm? And we talked about it from both angles, not just from you trying to be employed, but also if you have a company and you want to hire staffers. Basically, we discussed things like 1099ers and law and all of that kind of stuff. So basically with the Daily Blobs, we have the topical section, which is that's what we're going to be doing today. Then normally we have a review, but because the interview ran long, we're not going to do the review today. But then finally we have the question and answer sections. So the question and answer section is probably the most important section of the video, and that's where I try to answer your question. So if you have a question, what I need you to do is in all uppercase letters write question, colon, and then whatever your question is, and I will get to it on a first come, first serve basis once the interview is done. But do make sure you try to do that whole question thing, mainly because we get lots of comments. We get like 500 to 900 comments sometimes, and so if you don't put a question before what you're asking, I may miss it. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm not ignoring you. Man, I only have so much brain power. Now, I do want to remind you guys, our title sponsor of the week is Spiceworks. So Spiceworks is the company that provides a lot of free IT resources, absolutely 100% free. Even if you walked into their door with a $100 bill, they may want it, but they wouldn't have any way to take it. It's all free. So they do free mobile device management software, free network management software. They have a free community with 5 million users, and now, as part of that community, they've come up with Profiles. So Profiles within the community is basically a way that you can put your resume online and show the world how cool you are. So you can say who you are, you can say what certifications you have, you can say what projects you have done, so on and so forth. So if we go here and we look at this guy, Justin Davison, we can get an idea of who he is if we are interested and might want to hire him in the future. We can see his name, we can see what level he is, we can see how many years experience he has, we can see all of these certifications, and then one of the cool things is he can list his project, so he can explain all the different things he's done. So an enterprise UPS deployment, so he can talk about the UPSs that he installed in the enterprise system. Beyond that, with the profile, you know, it shows you what technologies you've used and have experience with. You can talk about yourself, you can say your interest. Basically, just like any social networking platform, you have your followers and you have the people that you are following, and this is just a really great tool, especially when you add it into their overall community, because in the community you can do things like ask questions such as PXE boot E52 error. So if you're having that error, you can ask the question, and then people, look at this, people will actually try to help you. And so with the profiles and the communities, this is just an invaluable tool for the tech world that you should be using because you should. Dude, I'm telling you, dude, you just should. So with that, let me pull up the video. So I did pre-record this video actually about an hour ago. So I taped this between about 11:30 to about 1 o'clock here. But again, basically, this is the interview. Jason Hogan is the managing director of Experis IT here in Baltimore. And this is a staffing firm. So a staffing firm is a company that you would go to. They would hire you, and then basically other companies then hire them to provide services. So when you watch the video, it'll probably make a little more sense when he's talking about everything. But let's go get into the video, because I think it was a very good interview, and especially for most of you guys who want that whole work thing, a job. Who wants a job? That makes me giggle. You guys want jobs. But anyways, if you want a job, if you don't want to be a consultant, real geeks are consultants. But if you don't want to be a consultant and you want a job, I think this is a very, 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 very valuable interview for you. So let's go over to the interview and you can start learning all of the cool things you need to learn from that kind of stuff. So let's go over and watch the interview. Okay, so I'm here with Jason Hogan, who is the Managing Director of the Baltimore office of Experis. So basically, he's running one of the local tech staffing companies. So my idea is basically to bring him in here, since a lot of you guys are looking for employment, to ask, you know, what are the types of things that he's looking for, and basically like what a staffing company is. So whenever you guys go out and you're going to try to get a job, you're going to try to get paid, you know, you can go out and become an employee of a company, you can become a contractor of a company. There are people out there, IT recruiters, they'll try to recruit you to be a contractor, an employee, and then there are staffing firms where basically you're actually an employee of the staffing firm. The staffing firm, I guess, kind of loans you out to the job. You can explain that a little bit better. So we're going to be talking about staffing firms today and basically how all of this kind of stuff works, and more specifically how it works for Experis. Sure. So, yeah. So I just explained my little convoluted idea of what a staffing firm is, which is probably horrible. So when we talk about a staffing firm, what exactly are we talking about then? What is this thing?
Sure. So what we do is we provide contractors to our clients. Our clients have needs for skill sets that are outside of their permanent employee workforce. And that could be for whatever reason. It could be financial, it could be project-based, it could be they just have a need that's only going to last them for a period of time, and therefore they want to hire resources, but they don't have a desire to commit to them for long term.
Okay.
So much like you would with our sister company Manpower, if you were running an office and you needed an administrative assistant, someone was going on maternity leave, or you had a particular task that was going to take a week, and you didn't have the resources to manage that, you might call a Manpower, or Randstad, or Adecco, or any one of those companies, and they might say, I need an admin, and they'll say, great, I'll send you over 3, you pick from 1, and they'll be there on Monday. It's a little different when we talk about technology people, because the skill sets are more concise, they require more experience, but it's essentially the same thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good.
So, so if I'm coming to you as an employer and I need to hire somebody, so when I'm so that person is an employee of you?
Yes.
So when because again, I just talked with my accountant for 2 hours about 3 days ago, and it was just brutal. So a lot of employees don't realize how much law there is when it comes to taxes, and insurance and all that kind of stuff. So when we start talking about workman's comp and employer taxes and all that, so who deals? If I come to you and I hire a staffer for whatever network administration, do I just pay you a flat rate and then you cover everything else?
Yes.
That's how it works. So you're dealing with the workman's comp, you're dealing with all of that.
Absolutely. So when our clients have needs, our first job is to understand the need. And we're going to use our sales force and our recruiters to engage with our clients to understand the skill set required, the experience required, the environment they're going to be working in, the team, the hours, the project that they're going to be engaged with, and how long they're going to need this individual, and what their organization looks like, and how they're going to fit into the team. And along with that is going to come, okay, so what's your cost point on this? And we're gonna work out what is a reasonable. Everybody has a budget. And we'll talk about what your budget is. And we'll boil that down to an hourly cost, and that's what we'll bill you. So network engineer, so to speak. If you were, whether you're a large enterprise or whether you're a small company, if you have a need that you're, again, it's a scalable need that may or may not be part of your long-term employee plans, but you need the need today for whatever reason. Maybe you're doing moves, maybe you're building out a large environment, and you're going to need 10 people to do this amount of work. We'll talk to you about what cost is going to be acceptable to you, and then that's what we'll bill you for the individual.
Okay.
So that'll be whether that's $45 an hour, $85 an hour, $185 an hour.
Yeah.
That's a number that you will see reflected in a whatever billing cycle, weekly, monthly billing cycle as a factor of the hourly rate times the number of hours worked, and that's what your cost will be.
Okay, so as the employer, the person contracting to you, so I pay the flat rate.
Yep.
Now for the staffer, the person that gets hired by you and then comes over to me, you know, with 1099s, basically they have to make sure they pay all their taxes and all their Social Security and all that. With you guys, then, so you're doing all that. So
yes.
Okay.
Well, we can employ 1099s as well, but the W-2 employee of ours is going to be like any other W-2 employee. We're going to work out during our screening process. Our recruiters are going to talk to the candidate about their skill set, their background, their experience, all of those things, of course.
Yeah.
But what are they looking to make? Okay. And what is going to be acceptable? What do they want to make? You know, and then we're going to negotiate that for every engagement.
Okay. Yeah.
So because if somebody has to travel 50 miles and work night shifts, they're going to have maybe a different cost associated with what they're willing to accept than if they were working right next door on a 9-to-5 shift. So we're going to negotiate with the individual, but they're going to get paid an hourly rate.
Yeah.
And we'll just like any other, they get a paycheck, and we'll take care of the taxes and the benefits associated with being employed by someone.
Okay. Okay. So what? So the person that's being hired by you, the staffer, that we call them, is there any cost for them? Do they have to pay you $100 a month to be within your pool or anything like that?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, so what is the cost for the employer? Like approximately, what are we looking at? So if I came to you and let's say I wanted to hire a $20 an hour employee, what would that end up actually costing me? So
if you wanted to hire a $20 an hour employee, based on the volume, based on the length of time, and obviously it's variable. You're going to hold me down to one.
I'm not holding. I'm just like ish.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's going to cost you something. I think you could add a 1.4 to 1.5 factor to whatever the pay rate is. So the cost of employment in the U.S. In most states, how it kind of averages out, the cost of employment is going to be somewhere in the 15 to 25% range is what it cost us. So we then have to put profitability on top of that because we run a business. And so our profitability is going to be, we don't want to go much below, and when you talk about gross profit after our costs, we don't want to go much below, I don't mean to get too businessy on people. We don't want to go much below that 20% mark, and we really want to target higher 30 to 35% numbers. But depending, percentages are variable, a lower end percentage is going to be less dollar value than a higher end percentage. 30% of 100 is a lot bigger number than 30% of 20. So percentages are variable, and it's you want to be careful talking in specifics.
So about ish. So if I was going to hire a $20 an hour employee ish, it would be about $28 to $30.
$28 to $30 is probably what
it actually cost me. Okay. And then if I'm looking to hire somebody from you guys, now, do you do full-time? Do you do part-time? Like if I wanted somebody for 10 hours a week, would you care about that?
I wouldn't care about it if you didn't. And if we could find an individual that would match the skill set and had the availability to work those hours and could commit to the project duration that you were looking for, that would be certainly an engagement that we'd be willing to explore if we could bring you value. Okay. So to answer your question, we have essentially 3 products within Experis, and I don't know. Did we talk about?
We will. Okay. I have that on there.
So within Experis, we have 3 products that we provide. So there's contract staffing, resourcing, professional resourcing. There's a bunch of different ways that people say it in the industry, but basically we put IT contractors to work at our clients. Okay. So that's the #1 solution or product that we sell. Yeah. We also do direct hire placements for our clients, where they would add people directly to their workforce. They pay us a fee for that, and it's going to vary based on the need, the skill set, and the volume that they're buying from us. But they pay us a fee directly for that. Yeah. And we do some of that, and it's a different product line than what my team here in Baltimore really focuses on. And then we do project solutions, which are not staffing, but they're capabilities that we have in-house where we have full-time employees. We may augment them with scalable resources from our staffing side, but we would bring a solution. You know, somebody. Can I give you a little sales pitch?
Yeah.
So I always think of it as a spectrum of if you look at one end of the spectrum as being staff augmentation or contractor placements. Yeah. Basically, I always say to a client, you know what you want. Yeah. You're going to manage them. Yeah. You're essentially going to take the risk for whether they do their job or not. Yeah. Yeah. They're just not going to be your employee. Okay. So you're going to look at me to source, screen, provide, hire the individual, and bring them to you. And I'm going to take care of the back office functions, the HR-related functions of employment. Okay. Yeah. But you are going to be responsible for whether they do their job on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Because you're going to manage that. That's staff augmentation. Okay. Huge in IT. Okay. Big solution. And most enterprise companies who have variable workforce in their IT environment, that's what they're doing. Okay. On the other end of the spectrum is fully outsourced solutions. Okay. And the way that I say that generally is, as a client, you may know what you want. You don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Okay. You're probably willing to pay a premium to have someone get you there. Okay. And you don't want to take responsibility for how that work gets done. You just want them to deliver it to you. Okay. That's a fully outsourced solution. Okay. In IT today, I think the world is somewhere probably in the middle. A lot of times where clients have a desire they don't want to pay on this end a lot of times, but they want vendors to have skin in the game. Yeah. They want vendors to have the ability to bring solutions that create more value than just a body, to be very graphic in the term of what we do. But that's what we do. And so sometimes when we deliver, a lot of times when clients are looking for solution answers, that's what they look like. They're kind of a mix, this hybrid of you get the control that you want, you get the expertise that you want, and you get the scalability and cost effectiveness of staffing solutions. So those are the three products that we sell. Now within the staff augmentation or contracting solution, whether somebody works 40 hours a week or 60 hours a week or 10 hours a week, I'm going to bill my clients for those hours. Okay. So as long as my client is willing to accept the responsibility for managing the resource and the output, I'm fine with however many hours somebody works.
So if somebody's coming to you, especially like if they're a new company, they're kind of expanding, like what should their budget be? You know, with all businesses, we all say we want all the money, but frankly, if somebody comes up with $100, it's too small. Right. Like, what is your too small? What should they have? What should their budget be before they really should be worrying about somebody like you?
So again, that kind of feeds into the larger picture. So we're part of the Manpower group of companies, and Manpower is one of the largest multi-line international staffing companies in the world. Okay. Interestingly enough, U.S. based and U.S. run out of Milwaukee. Okay. And we were started in the late 40s, so we've been in operation for about 65 years or so. International, again, operating in 83 countries. Okay. And within the Manpower group, and this occurred a couple of years ago, there were some acquisitions. I worked for a company called Comsys for a long time. Now I work for Experis. Yeah. We were acquired by Manpower, and the Experis brand was launched in 2011. Okay. And the Experis brand represents within Manpower our professional staffing capability. So our IT, engineering, and finance and accounting. My team here in Baltimore, we do almost exclusively IT, as an example. So our Manpower brand does the clerical, administrative, and light industrial staffing. And that's where we kind of draw the break line, to answer your question, from a cost perspective. And that $20 an hour resource you mentioned earlier is probably about the lower end of the spectrum, lower end from a cost perspective. that we look at when we're offering services and solutions to our clients.
Okay.
Typically, the reason for that is the demand from the client side is going to be a little different.
Okay.
In that, just my team here in Baltimore, we have 180, 200 on a variable scale contractors building in the field today.
Okay.
And the average term of engagement for each of those contractors right now is about 7.5 months.
Really? Yeah.
So when we are out there selling solutions, we're looking for people who are looking to engage contractors at, really the 3-month, the 90-day mark and beyond.
Okay.
They have project needs that are going to require them to bring on a resource that's a little bit more than, I need somebody to move this for a week.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, again, going back to the 3 products we sell, on the solution side, if it's a real solution that's only going to take 2 weeks, we'll talk to you about that.
Okay. Yeah.
But if it's cable pullers, rack 'em, stack 'em kind of thing, that's fantastic work. A lot of people do that job. We might have trouble with the resourcing end of that because that's a highly volatile skill set.
Okay.
And if clients aren't making commitments, it's challenging to get people in and out of those jobs very frequently.
Okay.
Our manpower business line is a lot better at doing that than our recruiters are, who are specialized in specific skill sets in the IT space, are much more aligned with specific technologies than they are the management of resourcing in and out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I guess that would be the thing. So whether it's the person trying to be a staffer or the person trying to hire staffers, then, like you've been talking about, so Experis is a division of Manpower. So how you guys do your accounting, you guys are all one company. But if I'm coming to you guys, should I see you as one company, or do I actually deal with you basically as if you're 2 companies?
Sure, it's a great question. We would like for you to see us as one company.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we're going to we're going to prevent you from doing business. Nice. We're going to present as unified a front as we can, with the understanding that it's going to take different parts of our organization to deliver you different solutions.
Okay. Yeah.
So, much like if you were to walk into Best Buy, Best Buy's probably not the case. Home Depot, right? If you were to walk into Home Depot, you can probably talk to just about anyone about refrigerators and windows and plumbing.
Okay. Yeah.
They probably have a general knowledge, but if you have very specific questions and expertise about your your windows that you're buying, just as an example. We talked about that. You may want to talk to somebody who has a deeper set of knowledge and experience specifically in that product line.
Yeah.
And you're going to understand that there's going to be different people that will do that. So we try to make sure we are educating our customers in the knowledge that we can bring you these various solutions. And sometimes we're going to say, no, that's not us. Which is challenging. Some people don't do that well. But we try to make sure we're establishing a relationship that allows us to be able to say, I understand what you need, but it's not something we do well. So if you were to have variable needs on that skill set and time frames, we would probably talk about engaging with different folks within our organization. And now, the other part of our job, though, is that we want to manage relationships. Yeah. So if you and I form a relationship, and I have to invite other people from a solution standpoint as far as the product that they sell, I'm still going to manage that relationship. I may say to you, Eli, I need to introduce you to my coworker. This is what they do, and I'm still going to be a part of that. It's not going to be a handoff. It's not going to be a complete shutdown. Go do that with them. I hope it works for you. That's where a lot of businesses go wrong, I think.
Okay. So if somebody comes to you then to be a staffer, so we're talking about $20 an hour, and so most of us who have done business, we have an idea of what that actually means. But how could you explain that to somebody who might want to come to you to offer their services? Like, what is that? What is the minimum level of experience?
Sure. It's interesting. So if I were to take a cross-section of our current contractor base in Maryland, which is probably representative of the 10,000 contractors that Experis has working across North America.
Yeah.
If I were to take a cross-section of the contractors that we have working here, it's probably going to be someone with about 10 years of experience.
Okay.
It's probably going to be someone who has done a variety of contracting and full-time employment in several different environments, so they have a wider range of experience than someone who may have only been in one environment for a period of time.
Okay.
However, having said that, I always say, you know, you can be real crass about the work that we do. The product that we sell is people.
Okay. Yeah.
The reason that we are in business is because people is a challenging product. Because they come in all different levels of experience and all different types of experience, and the need that a client has is going to be different for each individual. And a solution that one person might be able to bring to the table may not look like the client thought it was going to look.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, having said all that, you know, we have contractors that work for us today that are right out of school.
Okay.
We did a program for a client here in the Baltimore area about 2 years ago where they had a need to ramp up their project management resources.
Okay.
And what they wanted to do was to hire a team of project managers who were relatively junior in the workforce.
Okay.
And they wanted to teach them their way.
No, okay. Yeah.
So they engaged with Experis, and we went out to local schools and universities in the Baltimore area, and we, you know, sourced and screened a variety of candidates, and we ended up hiring, it was 5 or 6. The team was 5 or 6 folks, and they were relatively junior folks, and a couple of them were, I mean, recently graduated. And with the intention that they were going to become full-time employees of our client after this transitional learning period, if you will.
Yeah. Okay.
And what it did is it allowed the client an opportunity to test out the resources without committing full-time to them, and it allowed the individuals an opportunity to see the environment and understand, in some cases even learn the professional landscape. And it was really powerful. It was a really powerful solution for the client as well as the folks that were engaged in the program.
Okay. So, like with your staffers, because that's interesting. When you say that, you know, basically the median, you're looking at like 10 years experience, and then you're looking at they'll be pretty stable, like months at a time, not days.
Yep.
That is absolutely not what I would have profiled you. I would think they were young people who wanted 2 weeks experience. So, especially in the tech world, I mean, we're so valuable. Once you get to 10 years experience, you're valuable.
Yep.
And if you're going to stick around, like, why would they choose you over just being hired outright by a company? What is that?
Well, it's a great question. And it's because it's the demand needs in the IT space. Okay. So if you look at staffing in general. And again, going back to that, the solution that staffing companies provide is allowing our clients to bring in a skill set that they don't have, whatever that skill set is. If it's an admin, if it's a warehouse worker, if it's an IT person or an accountant, they're bringing a skill set into their workforce that they don't have, and they're not making a long-term commitment to them. So most staffing needs across all industries are either event-driven or they're seasonal. So Christmas season brings on a high level of need for warehouse and retail workers. Tax season brings on a high level of need for accountants. Regulatory concerns in the finance industry staying there bring on a high need for an organization to review their auditing processes. So they may engage with an outside resource. IT, however, is not event-driven or seasonal. IT is project-driven. And because they're project-driven, most enterprise organizations have a functional need for a scalable workforce that's typically between 10 and 20% of their entire workforce. So if you had a large enterprise IT environment that had 1,000 IT employees under the CIO. More than likely, somewhere between 100 to 200 of those individuals are going to be contract employees. They're going to be part of what most of our clients consider to be their variable workforce. That's where we come in to support them. So within that variable workforce, that may mean that they have contract employees who do their moves, add changes for their desktop support. Or it may mean that they have project-based activity, and within that application development project, they may have a need for a skill set in a particular language. They may be doing a mobile application that they want to build something, and once they build it, they're going to put that in a box, and it's going to live. You know, it's a mobile app, and they may even piece that off to somebody at some other time, so they're not going to need the skill set that it took to build that forever. So that's where the more experienced individuals come into play. So it's a wide spectrum.
But why would, like, because
why would someone come to us?
the employer's already spending 1.4 to get me or to get. So I mean, but do these staff, or do these the staffers, do they make more money with you? Like, what is their, like, I just don't. Because we jump around so much. We can jump around on our own.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Like, you know, to your point, you know, in the IT space, it's actually imperative if you want to be an IT professional that you need to work in multiple environments. You need exposure to different types of applications and different types of environments to understand how things fit together and make yourself more valuable in your career. So. Sure, you can go to work for one company, and if the company's large enough, you may get that, or you may only be interested in doing one thing for the rest of your life. But to really round out your skill set, as you mentioned, you know, just IT professionals need to bounce around. We're one avenue that people can take advantage of to have access to multiple environments and to learn things and to use their skills differently than maybe they did otherwise. So that's one piece of the puzzle. That's from the technology and the educational standpoint. Personal education, I should say. The other side of it is it allows a level of freedom to not make long-term commitments to an employer. You know, there's a variable workforce that travels consistently. Some people don't like to live in the same area forever. Some people want to have the flexibility to say, you know, I worked in New York for 6 months last year, and I'm going to work in San Francisco for 6 months next year, and I'm going to go find the needs, and I'm going to be challenged, and so that we allow for that to happen. And there is a little bit of a differential usually. And there's no number that I could even assign to it, but I will tell you that most people will say to me, you know, when long-term contractors, folks that I've known that have done this for a long period of time, will say to me they'll take 10 to 15% differential for this job as opposed to a perm job. Because we get involved, again, going back to the products that we provide, we do direct hire and contract placement and contract to hire. So we get involved in a lot of those negotiations, and sometimes even if I'm not doing the direct negotiating for the contractor, if they worked for us and they're going into a perm situation where they're being hired by the client, they're going to do that negotiation. I'm not going to step in. So if I'm not getting paid, I'm not going to negotiate for someone. But I get an insight into what that looks like, and a lot of times I'll help to guide people into what is reasonable in the marketplace and what's acceptable. And what I typically see is probably that 10 to 15% differential over. So for a contractor, you're going to make more money. Somebody's going to shoot me when I said that. I realize that as I'm saying it. Don't hold me accountable to any number that I've said here today. Don't forget I'm a salesman, right?
So one of the questions, and so let's say you get hired as a staff, or you've been there 7 months, the company's growing, they love you, you love them, and they just find it easier to actually be an employee. So then what is the cost, or what is the process generally if the employer wants to hire the staffer as their own employee?
Sure, it's going to be based on the contract that we've engaged with the client, and a lot of clients are going to have different opinions about how that should look and what they're willing to accept. We usually do a stepped fee based on the amount of time someone has worked.
Okay.
So that after X amount of hours or X amount of time, that person will have the right to, or the client will have the right to hire that individual without paying a fee.
Okay.
Always remember, Maryland's a right to work state.
Yeah. Okay.
So all of our contracts are going to be at will.
Yeah.
So people have the right to do whatever they want. But clients, we typically have in our contracts, clients are not allowed to hire our employees, and vice versa. Yeah. We're not allowed to go in there and, hey, you're great at that. I know a place you could make more money. Yeah. So we're not going to do that either. Candidates and contractors, on the other hand, they're going to be involved in our clients' environment all day long. You know, I always say, and I stole this from a friend of mine, so I'm not going to. If he watches this, Mike, if you watch this, you're going to say I stole it from you. So I did. You know, the best way to say it is there are employees, but they're not. Yeah. Okay. And there are clients' employees, but they're not, right? Because they're involved. They're there day to day. They're taking a direction, as I mentioned on that spectrum earlier. Yeah. They're taking a direction from the client. They're working in that environment as part of the team. Yeah. They get their paychecks from us. You know, we might take them out to lunch every once in a while, check in, how you doing. If there's a performance-related issue, we'll probably be involved. That's one of the benefits that we provide clients because they're our employees. They don't. You know, they're going to come to us and probably, hopefully, engage us in performance-related concerns or counseling and coaching type of thing. But a lot of times, you know, you could be out on a contract site and you might not see anyone from Experis for 2, 3, 4 weeks at times. Yeah. A lot of times it'll be, you know, you might see somebody once a week. But if you're doing your job, there's no real need for that. Yeah. So it's challenging sometimes.
But like, what would the expected cost be? So because I know with a lot of people they say like 2 or 3 months salary in order to break the contract or whatever.
So it's gonna vary. It's gonna be a percentage of the base salary, and it's gonna be somewhere at the starting end. Like if I were to do direct placement, I'm gonna begin my negotiation with you at the 25 to 30% range. That's what I'm gonna ask you. If you were a client, you were to say. If you called me and you said, Jason, I need to hire 3 Java developers. I got a project, or I need to hire 4 network engineers, and I want you to go find them. I want you to screen them. Present me with a list of 10 people. I'm going to do a couple interviews. I'm going to pick them, and I'm going to pay you for that service. Yeah. I would say, great. Yeah. What do you want to pay them? Right? What do you want to pay them? Yeah. So I can, you know, we'd understand the skill set, we understand what you're looking for, and then I would say probably, you know, if it was one person, I'd probably ask you for a 25% fee of the base salary. Oh, okay. So what we do is we usually step that down.
Okay. So the base salary, when you're saying like a year? For base
so if you were to pay somebody $100,000 a year, and your fee to me would be $25,000.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Perm placement is a lucrative business.
apparently. Yeah.
But it's real challenging. Yeah. And it's a different product from contract staffing. The cycles are usually different. The recruiting, and when I say different, I mean from a recruiting perspective. Yeah. I'm getting a little down in the weeds in my business here, but it's a different product that's why I say we do both. Yeah. It's hard to do both really well, I think, in my experience, because there's a different pool of candidates that are looking. To your question earlier, why would someone do this instead of that? Yeah. There's some crossover, but there's some people that just don't want to do direct hire. They don't want to be an employee somewhere.
So we're talking about before with the whole Microsoft fiasco about a decade ago. And so again, once we get into, believe me, all you guys out there that are employees that complain about your employers, when you become the boss, you're going to lose your mind with all this stuff. So we've talked about employees, and there's 1099ers, and there's contractors. And Microsoft got beat over the head, right or wrong, about a decade ago because they were hiring from staffing firms, as I understand it. They were brought in, but then the staffers were treated so nicely that the staffers then ended up suing Microsoft for more benefits because they said, we are indistinguishable from the employees, even though you hired us, everybody knows we're staffers. Yes. And so I guess that's, because like I said, because when I look at it, normally I look at employees and 1099ers. So a 1099er or contractor is I say, I want a website designed and built, and you said it'll be $1,500 and I buy it. Yep. an employee, I say, I want a website built, and oh, can you take out the trash? And tomorrow when you come in, do something else. That's an employee, and they're wholly different worlds. So my thought is, if I'm hiring a staffer, then I know how much I'm paying, and I don't have to worry about it. Right. But then apparently I do have to worry about it.
Yes. So let me do the legal disclaimer, right?
The legal.
I'm not a lawyer,
yeah.
And when we get into this kind of conversation,
hire a lawyer.
Hire a lawyer. Talk to a lawyer. Yeah. If you're, and I think I mentioned earlier, if you're really interested, there's our chief legal counsel, Mark Toth, is with Manpower, and he does I think it's monthly, it might be quarterly. He does webinar series, and he has a blog. I think it's law blog with law in the middle. So BLAWG. Okay. If you look up Mark Toth, Manpower Group, law blog, you're going to find him. And as I mentioned, I think we've Manpower cornered the market on funny lawyers. We found the one, and we got it. Yeah. So I would definitely, if you're as an employee or an employer, I would definitely recommend Mark's site, his blog, for informational purposes. Yeah. Gives a lot of updates on, and we have a lot of resources available on our website for employers to look at what the latest trends are and that type of thing. So again, as a lawyer, I can't give any legal advice, and I'm not giving legal advice. But essentially, what happened, as you mentioned, with Manpower or with Microsoft. Thank you. What happened with Microsoft is, and I'm totally going to butcher the legal situation, so just know that I'm completely paraphrasing what happened. They had a group of employees that were in a 1099 status or a contract status, not full-time employees. Okay. But they had worked there for a long enough period of time and had been treated exactly in the same manner as the full-time employees. Okay. Yeah. And that happens. You work with somebody on a day-to-day basis. If they're in the cube next to you, and you guys go out for lunch and maybe drinks every once in a while, and you're going to treat that person as a peer, as a coworker. Yeah. And the organization has a tendency to allow that to happen without constraints managed by the legal department, managed by the HR department. That just has a tendency to happen. So in the end, what happened was there was a group of individuals that were in that state, essentially, that sued Microsoft, and the award was given that they had been treated as full-time employees and deserved all of the benefits. Yeah. And you can extrapolate what that might be, right? If you go back into the history of Microsoft, they deserved all of the same benefits that the full-time employees that had been there for the same period of time. Okay. Costly endeavor for Microsoft, and scared everybody else in the industry who has an enterprise IT workforce of with variable employees. Scared everybody. So different organizations have put in place different processes for managing that. So some clients have gone as strict and draconian as saying, you can only work 1,000 hours, and then you have to leave and can't come back ever, right? Wow. Okay. What is that? Probably doesn't benefit the idea of having a scalable workforce. If you're preventing folks that have a knowledge of your environment and have proven to be valuable to you in the skill set that they bring from ever coming back to your environment, or limiting them in an arbitrary way that may not meet your project demands, that's probably not the best way to do it. But again, I'm not a lawyer, so if you're a company and you're considering doing that, and that's what you think is the best way to manage your risk, go right ahead. But that's what it all comes down to, is companies, they want to manage their risk associated with that type of legal situation that we talked about with Microsoft. So, and there's been a long, when it first happened a decade ago or so, it was scary to everybody. It's been a long time since then, and a lot of people have figured out what their level of risk is, and how they can manage that, and how they're willing to accept whatever level of risk resources in and meeting their project demands requires them to accept. And so they put in place these time limits. They put in place arbitrary rules about who can go to Christmas parties and birthday parties, and you know, when a company offers a function, is it a company function with everybody, or is it a company function for employees only? And those are all sometimes they're problematic for the folks that we have working in the field. Going back again to that, they're our employee, but they work in your environment, and they feel sometimes individuals feel like they're a part of the team, and they should. And that's what, for the best work environment and delivery capability, if I were managing a project team, I would want everybody to feel like we were all doing the same thing, right? So a lot of times managers just foster that, and they don't even know it. So the real problematic piece of that is, how do we make sure everybody understands what their roles are, and go back to the employment engagement and making sure that people really understand that you're an employee. When you work for me, you work for Experis in the field, and we are your employer. And you're working at the behest of our client, even though you're in their environment, you're taking their direction on a day-to-day basis. You're still an employee of Experis. And our contracts legally with the organization state all that. So the organization generally, once they've engaged with us, they're protected. But that doesn't always...
See, I think that was the interesting thing you said before. It's all about level of risk. Because a lot of people think there's just a line in the sand. This is the line. You're saying some companies use draconian measures. Other people like, we're fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that there's that. Neither of those is right or wrong. Those are just different ways of dealing with the risk. That's
absolutely correct. And the marketplace has everything on those ends of the spectrum that we've seen. And it's really about how do you feel, you know, an organization, for whatever reason, may have very tight controls over their contracting and procurement processes, and they may feel that they've manage that risk level down as low as they need to, or they may not feel that they have control, and they may allow, for whatever reason, they may allow their hiring managers, people responsible for engaging with vendors like us, to engage with whatever vendor they want, and to initiate and engage in contract vehicles of whatever they want. I wouldn't recommend that, but again, I'm not a lawyer, so if that's what you want to do, great. Makes my life easier. And if that were the level of risk that a company had, and they decided, or they got hurt, or they decided they needed to do something to manage that, they may institute some serious processes and really get tight on things just to shut all that down. And that's what we've experienced, I think, many times over the last couple of years. And it comes and goes in waves, and it's like anything else. It's the predominant trend in the marketplace will drive a particular decisioning process. And if it happened, you know, this company did it over here, and they seem to have success with it, and then the person who instituted it here goes over here. Oh my gosh! And they'll say, "We need to do this. It worked here. Let's do it here." And then, so you find these waves of kind of those types of decisionings going on in the marketplace.
So when we're dealing with you, and we're dealing with staffing firms, so like when we're dealing with 1099ers, you're dealing with possible civil lawsuits, and the IRS. The IRS may just audit you, and you're screwed. The risk with you, it's all civil. Like, there's no place that the IRS would come in and say, is there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of. So at least with that, you're not worried about the IRS.
No. Because we're gonna, anyone that we engage and put in your environment is going to be our employee. And you know, again, one of the reasons, there's a million companies out there that do what we do. And one of the interesting about the staffing business is, there's, you know, I mentioned earlier, we are one of the largest international multi-line staffing companies as Manpower Group and as Experis in the IT professional space, and professional space. We're one of the largest people that do what we do. There's tons of people that do a great job doing what we do that are local companies that have 10 or 15 people that work for them. And they kind of bridge the gap a little bit between those solutions companies, because a lot of times they'll have, those people will be their employees. And they'll be putting them out on contract sites. They may work for 9 months, and then they'll work in-house for 3 months. And you know, they may do small project work for the company they work for. There's, you know, in any given market in the U.S., I can't speak for markets outside the U.S., but in any given market in the U.S., the interesting thing about my business is my largest competitor might be Tech Systems. Right? Or my largest competitor might be a small local company that has 10 people working for them. depending on how they're engaged with the client. And it comes down to, again, I'm going to be a little crass again, but we are people selling people to people. The system is inherently flawed. So it really all comes down to, a lot of times it comes down to the relationships. And sometimes those relationships are at the corporate and enterprise level based on the level of risk, and sometimes they're at the one-on-one level. And you might trust me because of a history we have, and I might be able to understand your need more effectively because of an experience that I have or one of my recruiters has than someone else. And I may have found you somebody who did a great job 3 years ago, so you're going to call me again. And that's really how the business operates.
Interesting. So then, so we're talking about the staffers and we're talking about the employers and all that. So when everybody's coming to you, what do you guys actually look like? Like, what does your office, what is your little office look like? Who do you have in there?
So here in Baltimore, we have 5 recruiters and a recruiting manager. That's my delivery team, so to speak. And then I have 4 salespeople that work directly for me, that go out into the marketplace to identify opportunities, to build new relationships. Some of them work directly with large enterprise clients, names you would know in this market. And some of them are working, just to identify opportunities that we're not currently supporting with clients that are utilizing services similar to what we provide, and build new relationships. So there's, what do we have, 5 recruiters and 4 salespeople, and Beth, my recruiting manager, who you really should have on, especially if you want to talk about interviewing processes and things like that. If you want to give people, I mean, she can give a master's level course and how to interview. And for a lot of international candidates too, so think about that. But, so what did I say, 5, Beth, 4, and a couple administrative folks.
And then, so what are because one of the frustrating things, at least for geeks, when we deal with HR people and recruiters, is it feels like the gatekeepers that keep us from our riches normally don't have a flipping clue as to what anything that's going on, like whether it's what we do, our specializations, or even what happens in the server room. So like what makes you qualified to be you?
That's a great question. That's a great question. So the first thing that I'll say is I'm not a technical individual. If I were you, I'd make a living doing what you do, right? That's the first thing I say. So it's and if you could find a job, my response to that question is, if you could find a job, go get it. Because what makes me qualified to do what we do is we don't do your job. We don't do Java programming. We don't do network architecture. We provide a staffing service to our clients where we identify those resources. So we have, you can think of it as a kind of a hierarchy of capabilities within the technology space. So I'm not technical. I know enough to know when things should fit together. Does that make sense? And I'll be the first person to tell you when you get over my head. So my job is to identify opportunity. I'm a sales guy. My job is to build relationships and identify opportunity. Once we've done that, then if you were working at a client and you had a need, project-based need for a developer in a certain language, and you were to say to me, I need to get this person in here and I need them for 8 weeks or 8 months or whatever, the first thing I would say to you is, can we get on the phone with my recruiter? And our recruiters, depending on the marketplace, it's going to be a little different. This is the Experis model that we deliver. It's going to be a little different market to market to market, depending on the client needs and the availability of candidates in the marketplace. But our recruiters are what we call skill set aligned. So here in Baltimore, as an example, we have a recruiter who does nothing, almost exclusively nothing but project managers. And we have a recruiter who does almost exclusively nothing but what we term infrastructure, which is help desk, desktop support, networking, architectural type roles. And so on into the development languages. And obviously, I said 5, so it's not like we've got 100 recruiters doing different things. But based on our client needs, we break it up so that if I were to talk to you and you said, I need a C# developer, Oracle, SQL, the first thing I would say is, I'd like to get you on the phone with my recruiter. who's going to manage that, and probably be in this case, I'd probably be Brandon. Yeah. I'd say, you know, let me, can I schedule 15 or 20 minutes for you to get on the phone with Brandon, so that he can ask the questions that he's going to need to know the answer to identify and screen at a high level, identify and screen the individuals that you're looking for. Okay. Because let's face it, I'm not the one doing the work. Yeah. The recruiter is the one doing the work. So there's no sense in you telling me everything you know, and then me translating that back to a recruiter, and then a recruiter trying to find that person. Yeah. So the recruiter, if we get them together on the phone, then the recruiter will ask the questions. I might do an operational related question. You know, what are you willing to pay? How long do you need them for? Where are they going to work? What type of environment? I might get all of that. The recruiter's going to ask, being a little bit more knowledgeable in technical space. Our recruiters aren't technology folks either. Yeah. Sometimes they are in the industry. Okay. We don't really go after that profile because we need them to be a little bit more generalist sometimes. Okay. But it helps, and there's certainly some really good recruiters in the marketplace that are very technology focused. Okay. And depending on what services and solutions they provide their clients and how specific they want to get, may require them to be more technology focused than if we're offering a broader set of solution capabilities. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, you know, the recruiter will get on the phone and ask the questions that, okay, so you're using this skill and it relates to this, and how does that fit, and why do you need this, and is there something relatable? If I can't find that, can I find you this? Yeah. And if they worked in this environment, will that be acceptable to you? Now, a lot of those things, if I'm a salesperson and I know your environment and I've worked with you and I put 10, 15, 20 people to work for you over the years, I'm going to know a lot of that stuff too. But my recruiters are the ones who need to know it because they're talking to the candidates in the workforce. Yeah. Okay. And the other thing is my recruiter can then give a very clear and accurate opinion based on their knowledge of the workforce about what we can do. Okay. Yeah. So we're not setting you up for thinking that you're gonna have this person in the next 2 days, if you're not, or that this person is going to cost you X amount of dollars, you know, based on what we know in the marketplace. The recruiters should know or have an idea and understanding of people with this skill set and that amount of experience and worked in this environment are going to be looking to get paid this amount of money. Okay. So then we can tell you, people who want that amount of money are going to cost you this amount of money, and are you willing to accept that so that you're not... You know, we don't get... The worst thing that can ever happen in any negotiation is we get to the end of the cycle and you go, wow, that's fantastic. It's exactly what I want. I don't want to pay that, though. Okay. Right? And that's a negotiation tactic, but when it really happens as a buyer, it's frustrating. You know, when you find the thing you love and you think you thought you could get it up to the point that you can't. So we like to try to take care of that right up front.
I guess that goes into the next question. So what are on either side, for the staffers or the person who wants to hire a staffer, what are the gotchas? Like in almost everything, there are the things that everybody just screws up. You're like, how did this very smart person walk into whatever? Like, what should they be thinking about? What's the pitfalls that people just walk into?
Sure. So it's always about assumptions.
Okay.
Anytime you get into that type of situation, it's always about assumptions. Okay. And again, that's the role that we play, or we should be playing as an industry. Yeah. As an industry, that should be the role that we're playing. And if we're doing our jobs well, we're eliminating those assumptions, right? Yeah. We're really driving home what are the expectations of the job that the individual is going to be performing with the client. We're trying to nail that down up front. And in an enterprise environment, that's probably pretty well defined. If you have a project and you need a specific skill, you're probably going to know what that is. Yeah. And then on the candidate side, what type of work do you want to do? Yeah. And are you willing to commit to this engagement for this period of time, X amount of months, or until it's completed, or you know, whatever it may take to do that? So does that mean you have to commute? Does that mean there's off hours work, shift basics? You know, are you working a 9 to 5, or are you working a 5 to 9? The other way around. 5 to 9 is not a shift, but you know where I'm going with that. You know, it really comes down to the expectations and not allowing either side to assume anything. You know what I mean? Anything. Yeah, nailing down, closing on all the little pieces of the puzzle. And that could take so many different forms. It could be dress code.
Yeah.
It could be, do I get to wear headphones? It could be hours, or it could be pay, or it could be, you know, we really thought, a lot of times when we see disconnects from the client side, it's, we thought this person was going to be able to do this, and they couldn't. And our job is to understand where those gaps might occur, and make sure everybody's aware of them up front, and that we're communicating, as we learn, that we're communicating about them if we didn't know them up front, so that we can decide whether it's a fit or not. Because as you know, in any environment, you're going to want 10 out of 10. And again, we're people, and people aren't always 10 out of 10. Sometimes they've got 15, and you got the first 5 and the last 5, and the middle 5 aren't there. But can you adapt, and can you make it work is really the question.
So then, for the staffers, where do you find people that you try to pick up and recruit? Do they look at an AdWords ad and just come to you off the street?
That's a great question, and honestly, it's the one every client asks. Where do you find your people? So we have a proprietary database. Every big company's going to say we have a proprietary database of 700 million people that we've been, building for 10, 20 years of some sort, and we have that, and it's linked in all of our offices around in the world, actually, around the country for the most part, have access. All of our recruiters can dive into that database and search it and source from it, and we also have 10,000 contractors working in North America today. That's Experis. No, I don't even know how many people Manpower has out building. I know at any given time, again, don't quote me on this. Some literature I've read at points have said that at any given time we could have as many as 350, 400,000 people working around the world at our clients. That's Manpower Group. So within Experis, with 10,000 people working in North America. In the Mid-Atlantic, we got about 2,000 contractors working. In Baltimore, we have a couple hundred. And our recruiters have worked in this market for a number of years. So they're responsible for building their candidate pipelines within those skill set alignments that I talked about earlier. So what resources do they use? Sure, they're going to use our immediate candidates that work for us. They're going to reach out from there from a networking aspect. They're going to build from our internal database. They're going to use job postings. They're going to use job boards. They're going to use networking events locally, how you and I got together with the Tech Breakfast stuff, with Ron, good stuff. And they're going to use whatever access they think they need to build a reasonable community of candidates and individuals that will allow them to meet the demands, resource demands of our clients. So it's hard.
Well, I guess how would somebody who wants to be a staffer stand out? Because I mean that's the whole argument right now. Everybody's talking about it. Now it's horrible because as an employer it sucks. But now that it's gotten so easy to give out resumes, everybody's like, I put out 500 resumes, and I can tell you they all went in the trash because if you just get a random email,
hey, I hire too. I hire salespeople. I hire recruiters. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I guess that's the question: is how do they stand out? Like I know you go to events and things. Like how can somebody come to you? And even if they get rejected at the end of the day, at least they get their 90 seconds in front of you. At least you can give them a real honest. It may be sorry, we don't need you. But like how do they do that? Is it through events? Is it calling you guys up? Like how can they get that 90?
Yeah, it's going to be making that connection. It doesn't have to be face-to-face, but it's going to be making connection with the recruiter. The advice that I always give folks who want to be contractors in the IT industry, get to know recruiters. And not like all of them. Get to know somebody who you have a connection with. And you do that through talking to them. And if a recruiter is willing to spend time with you to understand what you want to do, that's somebody you want to get a connection with. And a recruiter who's willing to spend time with you to find out what you want to do, who also has access to jobs, obviously that's the holy grail, right? If a recruiter is hounding you over email and just wants to submit your resume, or you find out a recruiter submitted your resume without your authorization, it's probably not somebody you want to hang out with and expect to bring you value in the long run. They might find you a job. And if all you care about is finding a job, that's fine. There may be value in that for you at that time. But in the professional space that we occupy, the best situation, I think, for a candidate looking for a job is to get to know the recruiter. Okay. Build that relationship. Because even if this isn't the job, the next one a couple weeks from now might be the job. Or even if this is the job we find you and you're in a contracting situation, you're going to need another job 2 years from now when this one comes to an end, or 6 months from now when this one comes to an end, or 2 or 3 jobs down the road. And building that relationship, going to networking events, absolutely. And those don't have to be, in person. They can be online. They can be, a lot of recruiters are doing work in chat rooms these days where they're they're building communities of individuals. I always recommend, obviously, any of the social media networks and the business-related social media networks that are out there today. LinkedIn obviously is the most prevalent. Whatever value that may or may not have as we go forward in time may change, but social networking, depending on the speed of what you want to function at, right? So Twitter's great for a lot of people, or Twitter may be a week old by this, everybody's already forgotten about it. And that may be the right thing for a lot of people, or it might be, can I come in and talk to you? Okay. If you're in the Baltimore market, you want to come in and talk to one of our recruiters, reach out to me, and I'll be happy to align you with a conversation with one of our recruiters who'll have you come in, and sit down with you and spend some time and talk about what do you want to do? What does your experience look like? What's going to be valuable for you? To answer, to go back a second, in the old days, olden days, right? Before the technology bubble really exploded in the late 90s, before there was this thing we called job boards and Monster and Career Builder and those things, the space that the recruiter occupied was really all about building networks and what the need that the recruiter had to build a network of valuable enough resources that they could provide their clients solutions on demand. And from a sales perspective, our salespeople had to go out and find the needs that clients had. So technology has done its best to disintermediate that service that we provide. It's challenging though, because at the end we're providing people to people, right? So you can manage that with technology to an extent, but we think our stance is that there's value to having people engaged in that process, and if someone were able to manage it through an algorithm, it would have been done by now. And if it gets done, well, then I'll be out of work.
Okay, so a couple of final questions. So you're with Experis, right? And obviously you have competition. So what makes Experis stand out then? Either from a staff or like what is your competitive advantage? Like what is the...
It's a great question. And on both sides, on the candidate side and the client side, I believe it comes down to the relationship capability for us to understand the needs of both sides and to bring them together. And again, there's a lot of companies out there that do what we do. And there's a lot of companies, some of them do it really well, and some of them, in my opinion, don't do it as well as we do. And within those companies, as I mentioned, sometimes our competitor can be another multinational, multi-line staffer, and sometimes it's going to be a small company that has a relationship, and they've found a niche that they can fill and effectively bring solutions to their customer. And I might not be the solution for them. I might be too expensive. I might not be flexible enough. I might not be able to identify the resources that are within that individual's network that they've got closed down and they don't want to work for me. So in that case, hopefully, if I've had the opportunity to discuss the need with them, I might say to them, it's not something I'm going to do better for you than anyone else, or it's not something that the solution, not going to do better than the solution you have. So I think it all comes down to understanding both the client's need and the candidate's desire to work in an environment and really understand how to bring those two together.
Yeah.
Because there's never a perfect fit.
Yeah.
It's always round pegs and square holes.
Yeah.
And understanding how to make that happen in a way that's going to be a longer term solution. And then to manage the resource in the environment when it's there and provide them the support and the service that they need. That's a challenging big process. Takes a lot of infrastructure. Yeah. So on top of all of the other things that I mentioned earlier, our access to this huge database and our ability to nationally and internationally source candidates, and there's a lot of little things that go into that, and it gets really salesy again, and I don't want to do that, but I will if you like. What really is our competitive advantage, aside from all of those things that a lot of several of my competitors could say, I'm the competitive advantage. The people that work for me are the competitive advantage. The way in which we deliver our services is our competitive advantage. Okay. And if that fits with your need, well, then I'm going to be better for you than one of my competitors. And if not, then hopefully we're telling you, you know what, the way we want to do business isn't what you need. Okay. And you're going to find a solution that does fit.
So with Experis, though, because I mean, that's once you start talking about multinational corporations and lots of offices all over the place.
Yep.
Is the way you do business more or less ishy as the same way that Los Angeles does business?
Yes.
Or do you all kind of do your own thing?
No. And so that's a great question, again, because I mentioned Manpower Group does business in 83 countries.
Yeah.
Experis does not yet do business in all of those locations where we have Manpower Group offices. Yeah. Because when we launched the Experis brand, we basically took a bunch of different brands that Experis or Manpower had gathered over the years. Some were pure Manpower brands, some were acquisitions, and we brought them together and formed the Experis brand. Okay. And that meant we had a bunch of different ways of doing things that we had to consolidate and really solidify into a process. Okay. So the idea being that what we wanted to develop was a way of delivering services to our clients, services and solutions to our clients, and engaging with candidates in the marketplace that was consistent. So your experience in Baltimore was going to be the same as it was in San Francisco. Okay. It's going to be the same as it might be in Hong Kong. Yeah. Okay. It's going to be the same as it might be in Sydney. Okay. We're not there yet on a global scale. Yeah. We are there in North America. So any office in the United States specifically that you deal with, you're going to have roughly-ish, to use your term, the same experience engaging with one of our recruiters, one of our salespeople, and all of our back office functions are structured the same. They're all managed in one office out in Tempe, Arizona. Yeah. So all of that is going to be similar. Now, the one caveat that I'll give you is there's a reason we have offices in Baltimore and Philadelphia and Tampa and Portland, Oregon and San Francisco, is because regionally people buy differently. Okay. Most of us, we're all the same. Most of our needs are going to take us to the same place. But there's a way in which you sell in Baltimore that might, there's an East Coast difference to a West Coast, right? I mean, talk to people in Denver and I might be a little fast for some of them. Huh. People in New York are a little fast for me. So it's, you know what I mean? It's different. And that's why we have local offices, because we do believe it comes down to that relationship.
Okay. So if I had somebody on here, since I have an international audience and all over the U.S., and they're just like, screw it, I want money. I want the best job possible. Yep. I don't care. I will hop in my car, I'll pack my corgis in the car and go.
Yep.
Would they contact a local office, or do you have a global or national office that they would call?
It'd be local.
It is still
It'd be local. Local is gonna get them into the system, so to speak.
Okay.
And building that local relationship will give you access to all of the recruiters and offices that we have. We have a single front office system that manages all of our recruiting capabilities. And what we try to do from a delivery standpoint is we try to manage our buying relationship as close to the buyer as we can, and our delivery relationship as close to where the delivery need is as we can. So most of what we do, say here in Baltimore, most of what we do is a buyer that sits here in Baltimore. They have a need that's going to sit here in Baltimore. Sometimes, however, we're going to have a buyer who's managing a team in Albuquerque. Right? And so what we would do is we would use our local relationship from a sales perspective to manage that relationship and our local delivery capability, if it made sense, to deliver the resources that were being required.
Okay.
So from a buyer standpoint, you don't miss out, and from a candidate standpoint, you're getting access to the most local to where you're looking for.
Okay. And then I guess here's the question, since I've got fans, and I know you're self-promotional sales, but I've got to ask this. Do you have, because again, let's say you guys can't provide whatever one of these people needs. Do you have any worthy competition? You know, like even when I ran my computer shop, if I couldn't help somebody, I'd be like, you know what, just call these guys. They'll be fine. And then come back to me next time. Do you have like worthy competition? Like if they come to Experis and it just doesn't work, like I said, they're not at that $20 an hour level yet.
Yep.
You know, is there, who else would you say is good?
Oh, sure. So, worthy competition directly to what we do. Any of the folks that you're going to find in the multinational or the large.
But what does that mean? We don't know.
So that's like your tech systems, your Ronsides, your Adexes, those folks.
Okay.
They do a good job. And they're going to be just like us. They're going to be as good as the people we put in the field to build our relationships.
Okay.
On the more transactional side, I'm going to say, you know, it's the same players actually. It's the Manpowers, the Ronstads, the Adexes, and any multitude of smaller companies that fill that niche that can do that. It's really going to come down to who do you know.
Yeah.
Have they spent the time to build a relationship? In my opinion, it's going to come down to who do you know. Yeah. Have they spent the time to build that relationship with you, and are they willing to ensure that the opportunities that they're presenting you for as a candidate are a fit, so that you don't walk into that unknown space where you're being asked to do something that you're not going to be good at, and that'll end up in a bad relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It does. Good. So okay, last couple of questions then. So being in a staffing firm now, kind of away from Experis. What, as a new person, so imagine you have an 18-year-old kid, a 19-year-old kid, and they want to be, again, like most of these guys, I want to be a geek. And that's where they stop. They have like, okay, do you want to do programming? Do you assist that? What do you see as hot and has a good long-term chance of survival? Like MCSEs might still be good right now. Right. I'm arguing they're probably going to be dying within 5 years. Like,
I think that's reasonable.
So what would you say if there's an 18-year-old that's saying, you know, I understand I'm not going to retire whatever I'm doing, but what can I go into now that has about another decade to it where I should be making a good living?
Well, mobile application development of any kind, obviously. Multiple platform, multiple languages. I think even as recently as 5 or 8 years ago, I would have said specialization in development languages.
Okay.
I think today the platform requirements are so diverse that the language development capabilities are offering so many unique capabilities to provide on multiple platforms and to interact with existing and legacy systems differently. Okay. So to really provide a good base in that space, I would say people want to go as broad as they can while still being good. Okay. Does that make sense?
Still right. Yeah.
You want to be as broad as you can. You want to have as much knowledge as you can while still remaining capable of differentiating yourself by your skills.
Okay.
And of course, you know, any networking capability in today's technologies that allow for, which bleeds over into that mobile space, right? So any networking capabilities that allows for interconnectivity of multiple systems, however that happens, right? And it could be Wi-Fi, it could be fiber, it could be traditional, you know, networking tools, and you gotta have a grounding and basis and all of that. But anything that gets out, the further you can get out on the ability to provide access without physically being connected, the more I think that's going to be in demand in the future as well.
Okay. So you're saying mobile app development. What about for like the systems people? Is there anything? Because, you know, MCSE versus Linux versus Mac versus, do you see anything? I mean, like,
we see in the space that we occupy, you know, we are usually either going to be completely out on the cutting edge of what an enterprise organization is doing, because they're not going to make the commitment to the long term for something that they may go 8 months into it and go, yeah, you know what? That's too cutting edge for us. Yeah. So we're either out on that end of the spectrum, or we are being brought in to help manage the things that no one wants to do anymore. Right? Can you babysit these legacy systems that we really just need, we really need to have functioning, but they take nothing other than making sure they're continuing to function.
Yeah, okay.
So a lot of times in the middle space, it's hard to see where a lot of people are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Yeah. But obviously, Linux we see more of and more of. The open source stuff is getting wider and wider every day. Yeah. Apples and Macs, again, back to the mobile stuff, right? So people are seeing more demand for being able to provide content to various platforms. Yeah. And that's on the enterprise side as well as in the smaller business side. Yeah. People need to get content out to. We were talking about new media versus old media, right? So the demand of the consumer. Yeah. If I download an app for my bank that's essentially just a link to their website, I'm going to be frustrated, right? I want that app to do stuff and tell me things and be valuable to me. Yeah. So everyone has that need and that desire. So, and the way in which those things, as you mentioned, the way in which those things are being delivered, it's broadening, expanding every day.
So because a lot of people ask, like with Linux certifications, does anybody seem to care? Like, they've got Red Hat certified engineer, which is impressive. Probably more impressive than the MCSE if you actually get it.
Sure.
Do people actually care about that?
It's a screening tool. It's a screening tool for the most part. Wow, if you've gone through the effort to acquire this certification, then it's going to be valuable. Huh. You may have that level of experience, as you know. Lots of people out there that have hands-on, real-world experience that can be valuable. Yeah. In my world, where that really is powerful, goes back to how you can engage with a recruiter or someone on our side to make sure that understanding gets translated, so that you're not just a checkbox in a screening process of a system that said Red Hat certification. Nope, push that one to the side. So just like with any other certifications and diplomas and degrees, it's more, in my opinion, an understanding of, has the person shown the willingness to go through the effort to attain this status? Okay. Yeah. Sometimes that can be valuable because there are very specific components of that whatever the certification is that are required in that environment. And that's where it's going to make a difference. Okay. Yeah. But if it's not, it's just, I want the world as a hiring manager. I want this, that, and the other thing, and if I don't have those, I'm not gonna hire somebody. Yeah. Well, my job is to make sure you understand you might not get all those, and what can I do to get you what you need.
Okay, interesting. And so with that, so from a long-term perspective, because the problem is everybody always focuses like on right now, past year.
Yep.
And so when we start talking about like how do you get hired, experience, certifications, education, like even some of the programmers now that have college degrees are saying college degrees are absolutely worthless. They should have just started programming at 18. Which is doing really well now. I'm not arguing with them right this second.
Absolutely.
But over is like again, we've got a 30-year life expectancy. What do you think about that? Again, if you're talking with an 18, 19-year-old.
Sure. I would say it's really challenging to think over the long haul that you're going to be able to maintain the exuberance that youth gives in any context, right? Yeah. So I would definitely recommend get the diploma. Get the diploma. Okay. Get the diploma. I get it, right? I get it. There's lots of people out there that are doing lots of great things who have skills that don't require them to go through that process. Yeah. And for them, I say more power to you. I really do. Yeah. However, 20 years from now, if what you were doing didn't work, somebody's going to say at some point that could be the difference between this job and that job. And why allow that to be the case? You know what I mean? Yeah. If you have the time and energy to do it now. If you got a pot of money staring at you right now, I'd go after that too. Trust me, I'm not going to advise anybody to do anything that isn't what they want to do at the time. Yeah. But as far as from a career standpoint, especially on the contracting side, because it goes down to that screening process that clients give us, and what are they willing to accept? They're going to say, need to have this, that, and the other.
Yeah. So it really is. So either you have the college degree or you don't.
And if I can sell around that, if I can say, well, this guy's skills, gal's skills, they did this in this environment, and that must have meant that they had this capabilities, and they really feel that this brings value to you in that way. They're going to say, I might be able to bring that to the table. But depending on my relationship, I might not. Okay. And if that's a preventative factor to getting in the door, that can be really challenging.
Interesting. So I guess the final question is, so we have our little gag gift from our last recruiter about what I talk about the CCNA. And so I get a lot of arguments from the fan base. And so again, as I say, I only know so much. I bring in the experts. If somebody just goes out and gets their CCNA, and that is all they have, can you get them a job?
I'd say no.
No. Okay.
I'd say no. I'd say, it would certainly, I have clients that would certainly talk to somebody who just has a CCNA. Okay. There's very few people, though, that are going to have a CCNA in a vacuum.
Well, they actually do. I'm shocked. You don't know how many of these guys, they're going out there, and they're going through, I guess, a Cisco Academy. Like a lot of people.
Okay, sure.
And it's like they come out with a CCNA, and that's their certification.
It's going to be a big struggle for someone like us. Our clients are going to be looking primarily for experience. Okay. Yeah. Hands-on, real-world experience. And remember, we talk about that $20 an hour and below range. The average bill rate of a contractor in the field for us today is probably about $85 here in Baltimore. Wow. So if you take $85, we're going to go, without going too far in the business, if you figure it's 2,000 hours in a year, $85 an hour is $190,000, $170,000, excuse me. Okay. Well, if you're going to pay $170,000 for an individual, you're going to want them to be able to do the job. That certification says that you put in the effort to get there, but I still want to make sure that that person is going to do the job if that's what I'm going to pay them to do it, right? Or pay me, that'll then flow down to the individual. But and even on the direct hire standpoint, if you think that CCNA is going to authorize you or bring somebody to an understanding and willingness that they're going to pay $150,000 for you, salary base and benefits, and you're going to negotiate that into something. I would hope that you know what you're doing when you do that, and can deliver against that. Otherwise, that'll come out real fast. Okay. So certifications are worth what they're worth.
They're worth what they're worth. Wow. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you can translate that into an earning capability, good for you. Yeah. I just hope you can back it up when you show up on site, because I know I've gotten plenty. I've been doing this for 15 years. I have probably put contractors to work, good Lord, well over 1,000, maybe 1,200 contractors to work in the 15 years that I've been doing this. Yeah. I have fired a lot of people at the client's request because they had all the right certifications and their resume said all the right thing and they interviewed well and they knew what to answer from a textbook standpoint, and when they got in the door, they couldn't do the job. Okay. It happens all the time. Yeah. And no matter what level of screening, those people are going to sneak through. I'm sure none of you guys are doing that, but that happens. Okay. So the certification is the way that clients try to manage that. Yeah. But it's challenging for the individual who doesn't know how to perform. Yeah. If they can't do the job. Okay.
Interesting. So I guess that's about all I have.
I love that, by the way.
Oh yeah, that was. So, I mean, is there any, last thing, I haven't covered that you would tell them? So if they're trying to go out there, again, the 18 to 19-year-old, trying to get into the real world, is there any parting advice?
The only advice that I would say to someone trying to get out into the real world, no matter what career path you've chosen, whether it's technology or sales or accounting, it doesn't matter to me. What my experience tells me, being in the industry that I'm in, is experience is what people pay for. So if you have an opportunity to get experience today, get it. Let's take the job. Man. Go out there, and you got to start at the bottom a lot of times. Unfortunate as that sounds, there's no substitute for knowing how to. What you want to do is plan logistics in a warehouse, there's no substitute for understanding how logistics in the warehouse work because you stack those boxes. Yeah, okay. And you can learn that in the classroom, or you can learn it by doing it. Okay. my experience tells me that knowing how to do it is much more powerful in the long run.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you for coming.
Sure thing. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. So, see you guys. So we are back again. So that was the interview with Jason Hogan. Like I say, he is the, what is he? He is the managing director of Experis IT here in Baltimore. So that is an IT staffing firm. So we talked about what a staffing firm is and all that in that interview. But again, I bring in people like this so you can hear from them what they have to say about what it takes to be a real professional. And you can also hear the numbers and the money that they are throwing around. Again, I know a lot of you guys say I'm egotistical and I'm arrogant and oh, I'm just talking about all the money and all the success. But then listen to this guy. This guy runs a staffing firm and the average billable is $85 an hour for 2,000 hours a year. His average is 170 grand per staffer. So again, that just kind of shows you what the real world really in fact is actually like, because I think, like I say, a lot of you guys don't quite grasp how profitable all this is. The big thing, like I say, that I would take away from that particular video is to remember that, again, in business, in technology, that this is all about relationships. Again, he was talking about in there, I was asking him about the people sending out, 500 emails, 500 resumes at a shot, and he was saying, it's all about the relationship. If he knows somebody that he thinks will be good for a position, he will push and he will fight to try to make that, to try to actually get that person into the position because he knows that they will work out well. Oops. And that's the thing. That's the thing. Because he knows the person, because he has a relationship. So that's one of the things that you should be thinking about. The other thing, again, it goes back to the whole idea of experience. No matter how many certifications you have, if you don't have the experience, you will get fired. Like I say in there, he talked about that he's been asked by his clients to come in and fire people because people had great resumes. They had beautiful, pretty, wonderful, nice resumes, but they couldn't actually do the job, and therefore, as far as the company is concerned, they are pretty darn worthless. So with that, let us go over and talk about our sponsors for a second, and then I will get to your questions. So again, remember, sponsors are what makes all of this possible, all of this happen. So we'll just give them a second to do our little capitalistic thing. So our first sponsor is Authenticate with their Silo product. So this is the best password management solution for software as a service. If you have Twitter accounts, Google Plus accounts, Facebook accounts, online bank accounts, and you need to share those accounts with members of your organization, Authenticate Silo is your best option. This is an overall infrastructure. This is not simply a plugin for Chrome or an extension for Chrome or Firefox. You install an app on your computer that connects to their server, the data is encrypted in between. There's lots of stuff going on. It's complicated to explain, but this really is the best software as a service password management that I've seen. Adaxes, A-D-A-X-E-S. If you are dealing with Active Directory on a large scale, you know it is a pain in the butt to deal with. Even though it's GUI, graphical user interface, when you have to do 100 adds or 100 disables or 100 changes, that's a real pain in the butt. So this allows you to do Active Directory management and automation much more easily so that you can automate the processes and try to make your life a lot easier. So adaxes.com. Nerds, we can fix that. So if you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, you may want to take a look at buying a Nerds, We Can Fix That franchise. So basically, if you want to create your own company, but you don't want to deal with figuring out a logo, figuring out trademark, figuring out copyright, figuring out all those tedious little things that you have to do in order to create a business, basically you can buy into the franchise system and away you go. So if you're interested in starting your own computer services company, just drop them a line, give them a call, or fill out the contact information, and they will contact you back. Again, with franchise systems, it's great for some people, not so good for others. It all depends on who you are. Make sure you do your due diligence, but it may be a very good option. B&B Electronics. So B&B Electronics, these are the people that sell industrial networking equipment. So if you're going to be installing networking equipment into oil refineries, into factories, into those kind of environments, B&B Electronics actually sells that equipment. They they created a white paper for fiber optic network and cabling installation. So if you're interested in fiber optic network and cabling installation, just click on the link below this video. It'll take you here to this white page, fill out a little bit of information, and you get the white paper for free. Phoenix Contact. So Phoenix Contact manufactures the industrial networking equipment. So if you need equipment that is UL rated, CE rated, that will be in explosive environments, in high electricity environments, you can't use Netgear, you can't use Linksys, this is the type of equipment that you would use. So take a look at phoenixcontact.com. JustMail2.com. So JustMail2 is a contact app for your website. So what this was designed by a web development company. Basically what they found is people were going to the contact form of websites that they designed. They would fill out a little bit of information and then they would leave it. And so basically they're trying to figure out a better solution for having people in fact complete these contact forms. So JustMail2 is a contact app for your website. They have a module for Drupal. They have a plugin for WordPress. This is a startup company. They are trying to figure out how this works, if people like it, if people don't like it. So please play with it and then email support@justmail2.com and tell them what you think. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you like some things? Do you dislike others? They just want to know. TotalSem, TOTALSEM.com. If you're looking to get your A+, your Net+, or Security Plus certification, they have video training, practice tests, exam vouchers, and more. So take a look at TotalSem.com. Veeam, V-E-E-A-M. If you just virtualized 100 servers and now you're trying to figure out how to back them up, they have solutions for ESXi, they have solutions for Hyper-V, and of course, as you guys like, they have free stuff. So take a look at Veeam.com. Altaro, A-L-T-A-R-O. If you are dealing with a virtualized environment that is Hyper-V, so this is a Hyper-V virtualized environment in the Microsoft world, they have a backup solution for Windows Server 2008 R2, Server 2012 and 2012 R2. They have a free download, free trial, so if you're trying to figure out backup solutions, this may be the what you're looking for. So they have Hyper-V backup, also Backup FS, so take a look at Altaro.com. And finally, of course, Spiceworks. Spiceworks has the free mobile device management software, the free network management software, the free community with 5 million users, the free profiles. It's all free. It's all good. It's all 100% free. So take a look at Spiceworks.com because they just are, they really are a company for IT professionals, and they're just good. So take a look at Spiceworks. Oh, and with that, we will get to your questions for the day. It has been a long week. I don't know. Do you guys think it's been a long week? I think it's been a long week. I've been having like construction done to my house, and it's really weird. I don't know what it is, because I have all these like construction people running around my house, and they're the ones doing all the work. But like when you have work being done in your house, it just makes you all just kind of like stressy and irritable. So it was supposed to be done today, but I guess they're coming back tomorrow, because they're never on schedule. It was like one of those projects, you know how they say, it'll be 2 days. Or what do they say? It'll be 2 to 3 days. And then they say, it'll be at least 3 days. And then, it's 4 days. You're just like, I hate construction contractors. They're good people, but, it is, Anyways, I will be very happy in a little bit when it is 5 o'clock and I get to go home. I get to stop working for the week at least. Hi Eli, have you ever used a Wi-Fi booster in your home? I am trying to improve signal while avoiding running cable, but the reviews on boosters seem varied. Yeah, the boosters suck. I've used boosters over the years. Basically what boosters are inexpensive repeaters. So if you're dealing with a real networking world, there are something called repeaters. So what repeaters are is repeaters have receivers built into them and transmitters. And what happens is they pick up the signal from another base station, and then they rebroadcast that out. And so the idea is basically signal comes in and it rebroadcasts it out, right? So it's called a repeater. So in the consumer world, they basically create a repeaters, but I don't know, since they're less expensive, they call them boosters essentially. I've played with a lot of different boosters, and they almost all just kind of suck. I mean, they just really, they simply don't work very well. So what I would argue is you're probably better off just getting a lot better wireless access point. So in my house, I have a big house here with a lot of structural issues for sending wireless, and I decided, again, I went with the Airport Extreme, so the $199 Apple Airport Extreme wireless modem, and that again is absolutely awesome. I know you're gonna say, oh, you're just an Apple fanboy. Man, can a person like a product without being a fanboy? But it's great. I used to use Linksys equipment until some of my equipment got burned out during a lightning storm. Or not Lynx, Cisco. I'm sorry. I used to use Cisco, the AeroNet access points that I talked to you guys about. I was actually going to replace that equipment with Cisco, but figured, hey, since I'm Eli the computer guy, let me try out this Apple Airport Extreme and see how it is. And basically that's what I thought I was going to do. It's like, you know, for me, it's like, I spent 200 bucks, I get to do a review. But it actually works so well that I just left it. Like literally, I was going to drop the 600 bucks for Cisco, and the AeroNet just works so well that I can't complain. It has AC wireless networking, so that's the latest standard. So you have N, which was the old standard. Now we have AC. It is just really good. So I would advise you, instead of worrying about boosters, get a better wireless router. And again, like I say, the Apple one, you just simply you can't beat. It's a very good. I think you'll be surprised when you start using it. Eli, I have a question and 2 comments. Question: what is to stop the jailbreak people from hacking the CarPlay and making it useful? I suppose there is nothing to stop people from hacking the CarPlay. Whether that or not that makes it more useful, I don't know. CarPlay, that whole system though, isn't it built on its QNX, BlackBerry's operating system? So I don't know how you interface with it. So we talked about CarPlay a couple of days ago. So if you guys haven't taken a look at CarPlay is definitely something that you should take a look at. And basically what it allows is it allows you to use your car's in-dash system to control your iPhone. So you plug your iPhone into your car, and then it's kind of like this is the screen that shows up. Basically, it's a really awesome idea if it wasn't turning your luxury car into a disposable consumer electronic, right? You know, it's like one of those technically great, but I don't know. If I'm spending $50,000 on a car, I don't want it to become obsolete in 3 years. But so the question is what's to stop people from hacking this? Well, this, as I understand it, uses the QNX, the Quinx, or whatever it is, operating system from BlackBerry. So I suppose you could screw with it. I'm not really sure how you would. I don't think this particular system is even out yet. So yeah. Question. Please tell more about your trip to India. I don't know. I spent 4 months in India years ago at this point. It's weird to be of that age, to be at the age when like you were in India like over 10 years ago. I don't know. I spent 4 months backpacking through India. My plan was, it was like I flew into Mumbai January 14th, and I flew out of Mumbai May 14th, and that was the plan. That was it. So I wandered through India. Went from Mumbai down to Goa, a place called Hampi, Varkala. Oh, I miss Varkala. Varkala is one of those places, like, I wish I could go back to, but I know it won't be like it was. Like, that was a weird thing, like, with India and some of these, like, countries, is they're growing so quickly that when you go, like, when you go to a place that's absolutely amazing, you know it'll no longer be like that even 2 years later. So I had an amazing time in Varkala. Varkala was, like, one of those places that just kind of, like, drags you in. But yeah, I did that, then went down to a place called Trivandrum, then I hopped over to Sri Lanka, and traveled around Sri Lanka, then I hopped over to Calcutta, and then up to Darjeeling and Sikkim, so that was cool. And then Sikkim is the Indian state that is contested between India and China. Like us Americans, we don't realize that other people have wars and problems, and so there's this one India and China actually had a war, and there's this one little state that is still contested by 2 of them. So I got to backpack through that and hike through that. That was cool. Went up to Darjeeling, then up to Nepal, then went through Nepal, went over over the Annapurna Circuit, and they came down and went to Varanasi and Agra and out. So, I don't know, it was 4 months. It was 4 months. Wow. India is a different world. Like, to say that India is a different world does not even come close to India being a different world. It is like, wow, that is a different world. How did you get your start on YouTube? What was the first video you did? At what point did you start getting excited about getting views and subscribers? Well, remember, when I started this business wasn't originally on YouTube. I had the idea to start doing the streaming video classes and hopefully get paid for that. So I had my own streaming servers that I built a little over 4 years ago, put into an actual data center, so on and so forth. Tried to make that business work for about a year. As far as I was concerned, I failed. Was taking down my servers, trying to figure out what to do. YouTube came to me and said, hey, you can put your long form, your classes onto YouTube if you want to. And I went, what the hell? So I threw them onto YouTube. And then I kind of just left them to rot, to be honest with you. And then they allowed me to monetize like 8 months later. And then I monetized, and then I made 100, and then 200, and whatever. Started making more and more and more money. Again, one of the things that I will say, one of the issues for me when I deal with the whole YouTube community is it's kind of weird for me because, like I say, the YouTube community really is a community. Like I say, like Prillo and iJustine and Soldier Knows Best and Lamar Wilson and all these people that I've met in this weird adventure that I've been having. And the weird part for me, though, is this is just not a community to me. You know, everybody gets all, like, excited and giddy, and they love their fans, and isn't it wonderful? And I'm just like, dude, it's an infrastructure. As far as I'm concerned, YouTube is an infrastructure. It's not anything more than that. So really, for me, I just got excited when I started making money. That is all I really cared about. Like, once I started making like over $4 grand a month, I was all happy because this is a pretty good job. This is a good, exciting job, and I can make a real living at it. So that was what made me happy. The numbers that make me happy are money. That's just how it is. The only other really numbers that made me really excited for subscribers and all that was getting to the 100,000 mark. Because I was able, I got this in the mail. Because once you hit 100,000 in YouTube world, you actually become somebody that's kind of special. So you get a plaque. So I just got this in the mail. So I got to 100,000 subscribers like back in July, but I just got this nice my little silver star in the mail. So I wanted to show that off to you guys. Woo, look at that. That is my nice little silver star I got in the mail. So when I got excited, I was excited at 100,000 subscribers because 100,000 subscribers means you're kind of real. Not really real. I'm not nigga higga or anything, but it's kind of, you know, it's like you get 100,000 subscribers, you can say, yeah, I'm really actually somebody on YouTube. So I was excited about that. And then I was excited once I hit the 250,000 subscriber mark because that's when a lot of these vendors and these companies, it's just like one of those nice numbers that's easy to sell. Again, because when I walk in and I talk with somebody and I say I want an interview or I want a product, you know, when you say you have 250,000 subscribers, that just rolls off the tongue. They like a number like that. When you say you have 40,000 subscribers, they don't really pay attention. When you say you have 250,000 subscribers, they're like, wow, how many do you want? So yeah, that's my thought and all that. I don't know, what was the first video I did? I think it was Introduction to Raid, to be honest with you. I think it was Introduction to Raid way back when. Eli, I got my Samsung solid state drive installed. Darned, it works fast. However, at the startup, the Windows startup text is in English, and I are Dutch. Hey, you are Dutch, and I are Dutch. Any idea where I can change that? I don't think you can. You don't think you can, because with Windows, you can get Windows with different languages. You can get them like with the different language packs. So the easiest way to get the language packs for Windows 8.1, 8RT, blah, blah, is to download, install the language control panel. Download, install additional languages to view menus, dialog boxes, and other interface items in your preferred language. So this is what you use like if you want the start menu to have different text, all of that kind of stuff. Then they have the actual regional versions of Windows. Let's say Dutch, and I don't know if they have Dutch Windows, to be honest. Not Dutch. How to install language packs, language pack, getting... Yeah, because that's the thing, is basically when you're dealing with different languages with Windows, they have two ways of dealing with it. One is like the language pack that's been around forever, and what that does is it goes in, and for most things it modifies the language into your language. But some things still are in English. And then they actually have, it's like the regional version. Like I've gotten it a lot, or I used to get it when I had my store. Like they have Asian like the Japanese version, and the Japanese version is like entirely modified just to say things in Japanese, and you can't get them back in English. So what I would say is at the point that you're at, I don't believe you can change the language anymore, because the regional version is actually an operating system unto itself. It would be like you know what I'm saying? Like you would actually have to install the regional version of the operating system in order to get everything in Dutch, if they even have it. I'm not sure they even have it, to be honest with you. So I think where you're at, you're kind of stuck. Eli, which schools did you go to? I don't know. Lots of schools. I got my bachelor's degree from University of Baltimore. I went through the U.S. Army Electronic Training School. I went through Cisco training and Microsoft training and Avaya training and PHP training and MySQL training and Red Hat training and Adobe training and lots of other trainings. So lots and lots and lots and lots of schools. As far as college goes, I got my BS degree from University of Baltimore, though. What do you think about the new Samsung Galaxy S5 release? Seems kind of cool. Seems kind of, it is an iterative change. It's kind of cool that it reads your pulse. I don't know. That's kind of nifty. So the new Galaxy S5 is coming out. It's supposed to have a better camera. Woo! It's supposed to have a better screen. Woo! It has a heart rate monitor, so it'll actually track your heart rate. Woo! So there are a little some improvements to it. To be honest with you, if I had not broken my Galaxy S4, I probably wouldn't really care about the S5. But because I broke my S4, I might as well buy the S5, and there you go. So it's that. I guess that's how I feel about the S5. Is I will buy the S5 because I broke my S4. If I hadn't broken my S4, I wouldn't really be buying the S5. It's, you know, it's a year later. It is a year later and a year better. I think they have done more with the Galaxies, the S's, than Apple is doing with their iPhones, to be honest with you. But you know, it's a year later. There's a little bit more functionality. I don't know, this whole fingerprint thing. I don't know. I just feel like, you know, they're just trying to push that. I don't know. Do you guys like the fingerprint scanners? I don't know anybody who really likes the fingerprint scanner, so they seem to be pushing that. The only thing that seems really interesting with the Galaxy S5, like the revolutionary or the vaguely revolutionary, or the highly iterative, I suppose, is because it uses your fingerprint scanner. Apparently, they're going to have a PayPal app for it, so you can do PayPal payments much more easily. So you can walk into a store, scan your finger, and then like hit pay now, and it'll pay through PayPal. And it's supposed to be a much more secure way of making digital payments. Yeah, we'll see about that 6 months after people start using it. But I think that's about the only thing that seems like really, really cool with it, is if you add your fingerprint to a mobile payment device, that could be really, really interesting. Yeah, the other stuff is like, yeah, it's better. I'm not saying it's not better, but yeah. Which free firewall software do you think is the best? I have used Clear OS in the past, and I currently use PF Sense at the moment. By the way, thanks for answering my exchange question yesterday. I don't know. I don't know why you'd be worried about a free firewall software. As far as I'm concerned, if I don't want to pay for a firewall, I'll just use whatever the hell is built into my my modem router that I have for my ISP. And then if I am going to pay for a firewall, probably something like Checkpoint or whatever from Dell. Like a free firewall. I mean, firewalls are so, you know, I mean, they're just so, I don't know why you would really, why do you really care? I don't know. I would use my ISP firewall, to be honest with you. It's free, I already have it. And most of them work pretty good and do what you need them to do. That's what I would do, to be honest with you. Do you have an opinion on Meraki, Ruckus, and Ubiquity? Would you review them if you haven't for sub 100 client environments? If you get me a Meraki, a Ruckus, or a Ubiquity, I would be more than happy to review them. But Ruckus and Meraki and Ubiquity aren't sending me any routers, so I don't have any of them to review, to be honest with you. Hi from Russia. What's your main purpose in life? To live another day. To live another day. What is my main purpose in life? I don't know. To geek the hell out, I suppose. My main purpose in life right now is to get this damn TV show. I'm telling you, I wasn't that I mean, well, they might be watching. They might be watching, so I have to be careful what I say here. I was borderline on the whole interested thing of this TV show until I talked with the TV person yesterday. So as you guys may or may not know, I've been sort of in vague, weird talks about a TV show for a decently large, like, real channel, and I'll be like one of the hosts of. And I was like, I don't know, I was kind of like on the border with it. Like, it would be really cool and I would really like to do it, but I wasn't sure how excited I was until like yesterday, and I talked to like one of the main people with it, and what they're looking for out of the geek on the show is actually to like create and deploy like truly innovative technology, like stuff that hasn't been seen before. So like the whole idea, like you go out and you have a budget and you can just buy whatever the hell is cool and set it up. Oh, I just want to geek my little heart out. I would say right now that would be my goal in life, is I want to get that TV show so I can geek my little heart out. I mean, like, I play around with stuff right now and I've got a little bit of a budget. But I mean, can you imagine, like, if I had, like, a budget, like a real budget, and not just a real budget, but, like, weird-ass problems, you know, like I said, like, I emailed them back today, and I was talking about something like creating a 360-degree 8K screen. So basically, there's travel involved in the show. I can't say a lot, but there's travel involved in the show, and I'm here, and there's another person somewhere else in the world. And so I was telling them, I was like, how geeky awesome would that be, is you create a 360-degree screen, and that 360-degree screen is basically made up of somewhere between like 4 to 8 8K projection monitors. So it's rear projection, so you would stand in the middle, and the screens would be displayed 8K. So 8K is freaking insane. 8K is just like mind-blowing resolution. And then you could have another person on the other side of the world and literally have like this 360-degree camera thing. So you could really, it's almost like a holodeck. And I was like, if you give me the budget, I can build that. So yes, I don't know. My purpose in life right now is to get this TV show so I can like build some like really insanely cool tech if they give me the budget for it. Because it was funny. I was like talking to the guy, and he's like, "What would you do?" And I think I mean, that's the hard part, like with people in technology, is they don't get what we do. Because he kept asking me like this, "Well, what would you do in this situation?" And I said, "Well, what's your budget?" He's like, "Oh, don't worry about the budget." And you're like, no, dude, you don't get what we do. It's all about the budget. You got $1,000 I'll build you a $1,000 solution. You got $1 million I'll build you a $1 million solution. Believe me, that $1 million solution will look like something out of the frickin' Star Trek Enterprise, but it'll cost you $1 million. So yeah, that is my hope. And oh, I hope I get it. It is just so, like, talking to them, I was just like, oh, you got to give this to me. You've got to. I would just cry. I would just cry if I don't get this, because it really is. It is just like so. just geeking the hell. I mean, it really, I mean, like I say, it's you can't say much. And like I said, that's where I try to say as much as I can, but there are terms of services and contracts and all that where I can't say things. But it is just like, oh my God, like, can you imagine me with like almost no budget, or a budget that is just so I don't care. So it's just like, I want to build that, and they go, that would look cool on TV, and I'm like, yes it would, let's build it. Oh, well, I feel like a kid before Christmas. I wasn't that excited. Like I said, I was interested. I was very interested until yesterday. But yesterday got me excited because they started talking about all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea what I can get built. It was like, can you imagine that? Because I mean, that's the other thing too. I was talking with them, and that's where like things build on other things for your career. Because I was telling him, it was like, because you know, they want really cool, fancy technology for what they're doing, and I'm like, well, listen, I'm already Eli the computer guy. I'm already getting stuff sent to me. People in the tech world already know who I am and are fans of mine. So can you imagine if I could then go to just about any company I wanted and just be like, hey, I'm Eli the computer guy. Oh, and I'm on this TV show, and I want that product so I can show millions of people what an insane thing you could do with it. That would just be nuts. That would just be nuts. It'd be like walking into NVIDIA. It'd be like, yeah, you know that K processor, that 192 core processor? Can I get two? I'd like two. But I don't know. I just play. What is my purpose in life? To play. As my Indian friend said, you know, life is just taking up time until we die. What does he say? You know, once you deal with food, security, and water, everything else is just taking up time until you die. What do you... I never understand why you guys ask me questions like this. What do you think about the current situation in Ukraine? Thank the spaghetti monster, I'm not Ukrainian. I have no idea. If you guys don't know about the whole mess going on in Ukraine, go watch what's going on in Ukraine. I don't know. They're all nuts. I am such an isolationist. Let me tell you, by the end of this decade, I'm going to be a complete isolationist, I think. I think that's my view on Ukraine. It's like people ask, like, what's your view on Ukraine? What's your view on Venezuela? I'm like, I just want to be an isolationist. What is it back in 1918, the presidential election, return to normalcy? I want to return to normalcy. I don't know. Ukrainians, I don't know. Let the Europeans deal with it. I am 20 years old and I've been working as a sysadmin for 3 years, and I want to be an app developer. Is a bachelor's degree in computing a good way to go? Will a master's after that be worth it? Well, bachelor's degree, what is computing? Computer science, yes. What is computing? Bachelor's degree in computing sounds hokey as hell. So I would say be careful about the idea of getting a bachelor's degree in computing. Get one in computer science. Yeah, I mean, you would be good. I mean, a bachelor's degree in computer science is going to do well for you for programming. Whether or not you want to get a master's degree is, again, it goes back to you. I mean, how much money do you have in your back pocket, and what do you want to do? If you want to do mobile development, if you want to do web development, you want to do that kind of stuff, a bachelor's degree should be more than enough. If you want to do more sophisticated things, actually building operating systems, building device drivers, that kind of stuff, then you probably need your master's degree. So again, it always goes back to what you're doing. But computer science, I don't know what the hell a bachelor's degree in computing is. When you were using your iPhone, did you use any server apps such as Server Auditor, SSH Client, and Terminal from iTunes? Are these kinds of apps useful in the field? I did use an SSH Client way back in the day. So when I had my iPhone, when I had my servers. So when I had my servers in the data center, one of them was a Linux box, so I did SSH into it every once in a while. All I would say with remote administration from your phone is it's a nice last resort. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you go on vacation and you leave your computer somewhere and then you're told your website or something crashed, being able to SSH and just do a reboot of the system is really, really, really nice. Would I want to do any kind of real administration off my iPhone? Hell no. It's like any tool, you know. If you have to pound in nails, you want a hammer, not a shovel. I don't know. It depends on what you want to do in life. They can be very good things. Like I say, I use them to, like I say, reboot servers and restart services and all that kind of stuff. You know, it was good. It was fine. Nothing wrong with it. Please take a look at Smoothwall and see what you think of it as a firewall. I used to take a look at Smoothwall, but there's Smoothwall. Smoothwall got confusing because there used to be Smoothwall Community, but then they kind of went corporate. So I don't know what are they now. So this is one of the firewalls out there. So we have Smoothwall Open Source Community or Express, or you have the corporate version. So you have to figure out, I guess, which one you want to go to, and then you can take a look at it. Again, I mean, I don't know. It depends on what you want to do in life. I would argue whatever the hell is installed in your ISP modem should be good enough for most of you guys. The only reason I would customize with one of these open source routers, to be honest with you, is if I wanted to throw in Squid Proxy. If I wanted a transparent Squid Proxy, so it's transparent Squid Proxy is you set it up and you don't have to do any configurations on the local computers. They just automatically start using the proxy server with a caching proxy server. Then that would be good. But if I'm not doing a Squid Proxy with caching, I don't get why you would want to do it, to be honest with you. I don't know. So that would be my thought. If you're gonna be using Squid Proxy with caching, that is really cool. Especially you throw that on a solid state drive, you can do some amazing things. But if you're not gonna do that, I don't know why you guys would want to play with this other stuff. Question: you mentioned app development as an area to get into. What about website development or small business sites? Is the market too flooded at this point to get in by opening your own business? So if you're talking about like web design, that's basically what you're talking about. It's not too flooded. You can get in and you can do, you can definitely do a business building websites. But the question is by the time you're doing websites, why not just do web app development and make 4 times as much money? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I can be a web designer and make 50 to 75 per year, or I can be a web app developer and I can be making 125 to 200 a year. For not a hell of a lot of difference, you know what I'm saying? That's what I would argue. Will you be reviewing Windows 9 when it is released? I already reviewed Windows 9 and it has been found wanting. I don't know. When Windows 9 comes out, maybe. If I still care about Microsoft. Again, as I've said, the Microsoft trolls have beat me down. The Microsoft trolls have done their job. They are getting me to shut up about how much I hate Windows 8. But that's the thing. You know, it's the problem. It's a thing that you have to be careful about with business. Is you can get to the point where just people get tired of your product, and it's just again, Mac works fine. Linux, I think Linux is the future. I don't know, maybe I'll play with Windows 9, but it is getting to the point where I'm actually breaking myself with Windows. And I used to be a Windows fanboy. I really did used to be a Windows fanboy. But right now I'm playing with, I have Fusion installed on this Mac. So what Fusion allows you to do is actually open up some Windows apps, and it looks as if the window is... Fusion is kind of like VirtualBox, it's a virtualization piece of software, but you can actually open up apps, and only the application window will open up. So even though it's in a virtualized environment, you don't see the rest of it. Really cool. And so basically, the only thing that I'm really stuck with on Microsoft now is I use something called Xobni, Xobni, which is a plugin for Outlook, and that is my killer app. That is my requirement. So I'm actually in the process of migrating everything over right now, and I'll use Outlook and Xobni within Fusion as in a window, and we'll go from there. But I think my time with, I honestly, and like again, you know, I'm not saying this to be angry, I'm not saying this to be mean, or I'm not, it's just with with what Microsoft has done and with how Ballmer and the rest of them have decided to interact with their consumer base, again, you know, part of freedom is deciding who you want to deal with, what kind of behavior you want to tolerate. And I'm just tired of tolerating Microsoft. I really am, and I don't think it's. I think it's past the time when we have to deal with this horse crap. So again, I'm migrating. Like I say, I'm migrating everything over to Mac, and I can imagine the next couple of years I'll migrate over to Linux. And I'm close to done with Microsoft. Truly. And I'm not saying I'm not waving my arms around when I say that. I'm not being melodramatic. I'm getting close to being done with Microsoft. So I mean, when Windows 9 comes out, I'm obviously a computer geek, so I'll play with it a little bit, but and I'll review it, but I don't know. I'm not really sure I care much either way, to be honest with you. You know, it's like, you know, when Vista was coming out and was around, and that was such a mess. You know, I was really excited to see Windows 7. It was like, you know, once they come out with Windows 7, that'll be a great operating system, and we can get past that. Like I say, with Windows 8 and 8.1 now, you know, they have broken me down to the point where I'm just like, you know what? I don't know if I really give a damn about Windows 9, to be honest with you. I'm just tired of Microsoft. I am burnt on Microsoft. Take that or leave that. What is the desk that you have? You guys are always so interested in my desks. This is an IKEA desk. It is an IKEA desk. It's, I don't know, some kind of IKEA desk. I bought it 6 years ago, but they still sell it. Go to IKEA. Do you think Samsung moving to Tizen is a dumb idea if it's capable of running Android apps just like BlackBerry? Tizen doesn't even have an app ecosystem like Android or iOS. Depends on how much Samsung is actually moving to Tizen. So Tizen is Samsung's new operating system. So it's a new mobile operating system. And I guess Galaxy Gear, the new Galaxy Gear actually runs on Tizen versus Android, version of Android. As far as is it a dumb idea? No, it's probably not, to be honest with you. And especially it depends on how they use it. So the good thing with them developing Tizen is because if Google ever starts doing something insanely dumb, the way Microsoft has decided to run their business, then Samsung has an operating system and they can leave the Android world. So I think that's the first thing. And so you always want a plan B. Whatever business you have, you know, even if you're rolling in the money, even if you're just pulling in millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars doing whatever it is you do, you always want a plan B, because you never want all your profit tied up into one thing that can be broken, especially by somebody else. So I'd argue them having Tizen is a good idea, just because it's a plan B, right? Even if they don't really need it, it's a plan B. The other reason it's good is because they do want to start coming out with all these other devices, you know, Galaxy Gear, I'm sure they'll come out with a headset, they want to come out with a car computer, and so those devices can talk to Android without necessarily needing Android on them, you know, either with APIs or whatever connections. And so what Samsung can do, basically Samsung then can do what Apple has done, and you can build the operating system to run the best on the hardware. So especially when we're dealing with these low power devices, I mean devices with less than a gigahertz processor, you know, a tiny bit of RAM, a tiny bit of hard drive, any kind of bloat in that operating system, any kind of inefficiency, you can really see. So when they're talking about smartwatches, when you're talking about smart glasses, when you're talking about these really incredibly small computers, the more streamlined and the more custom they can make the operating system to the specific hardware that the operating system would be running on, the better it is for them. And so basically they can have all these devices running Tizen that then talk to an Android phone. So you get all the kind of Android functionality without actually have to building on Android. You get what I'm saying? So no. I mean, Tizen. Worst case scenario, like I say, it's a plan B. I mean, again, like I say, I mean that's the worst case scenario with Samsung, and it's good with us. Is just that they can tell Google that there really is competition. Because Samsung's a big company, right? If Samsung dropped Android, that would be massive damage to the whole Android ecosystem. So simply by them coming up with a new operating system, they can hold that stick over Google's head and say, don't do something too dumb. Right? You know, because every business does some dumb things. But with this, Samsung can be like, listen, You can be a Google, you can be a little dumb, but if you get too dumb, we will just drop you. And what will that will just do a lot of damage to the Android system. So, if you invested all your money in virtual currency, don't be surprised when it virtually disappears. Yeah. Question: do you know any good tech staffing agency in the U.S.? Apparently I do. Apparently Experis IT is a good staffing agency. At least that is what I have been told. Oh my golly. Oh my golly. It is already 2 hours and 13 minutes. So I do hate to say, but it has been an exceedingly long week for me. And the show has been over 2 hours already. So I think I'm going to call it a day. So I do see you guys have some questions. So come back next week and ask your questions. So next week, I should be here all week. Yes, I am here all week for next week. So Monday through Friday, we'll be doing videos 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then the next week after that, so Saturday, and then fly down to Austin. And so the week after that, I will be at Spiceworks headquarters, and we'll be filming out of there for the entire week. So that should be really awesome and cool. And then I come back, and I'm here for a little bit, and then I go to Interop for a week, and then I am back permanently. Though I do have to say, this next month, maybe this next few weeks, may be absolute hell. You know, I laugh and I joke like that I don't really do any work with this job. It's like, oh, this job is so easy. And then my wife gives me a dirty look. Because to tell you how stressful this job may be, because so with the TV show, they're getting to the point where they need people to go to a central location to do this whole chemistry test to basically decide, you know, if we have good chemistry or not. And so I'm really dreading this. I'm really freaking dreading this because I'm in Texas from like the 15th to the 23rd, and then I'm in Las Vegas from like the 30th to the 5th. So I was talking to this guy, and I may fly back here on Sunday, literally kiss my wife, and hop on a plane to London like 2 hours. Oh my golly. So, yeah, I have a feeling this is going to be a hard month. If about 4 weeks from now I just disappear for a whole week and you get random tweets from me being in Miami Beach, you will know what happened. You will know that my brain just kind of exploded. And I'm like, I'm done. I need a little bit of break. Because yes, that is my next couple weeks. And that's the other thing, though, for you guys to understand with business and for you guys to understand with opportunities is again, a lot of you guys, I don't really think you guys realize like how hard it can be and the decisions you really have to make. But it really is. It's like, you know, when you get that call, you have to say, yes, I will hop on a plane. And it's like, even if you look and you're like, what the hell, I'm getting back from being out of state for a week and a half. But yes, I will hop on a plane 2 hours after I touch down to go to a different country. That's what people are looking for. That's the motivation they want. That you don't even think about it. You don't even question it. You say, I want what you're offering. Tell me what needs to be done. And then they tell you, and you sigh and you go, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it just because I want really cool technology. So again, lessons in life, lessons in the whole business world. Let me scroll over here. Let me find my... There we go. So again, do remember that Spiceworks was our... yeah, I guess it's over now. It's the week. So Spiceworks has been our title sponsor for this week. They have the new Spiceworks Profiles. So with their community of 5 million users, they created Spiceworks Profiles to basically be your resume for the tech world. So basically you can add all your stuff. So if we go down and we take a look at one of these guys' profiles, we can see all of their fancy things. So this guy, Ben Snape, you know, you can see he has 12 years of experience in IT. You can see his certifications. You can see the little projects. So again, when I'm telling you guys to go out and do projects, this is what you can do. So whether or not you make money, you can just show the world that yes, in fact, you have done projects. You are cool. Then beyond that, it shows what technology you've used. You can talk about who you are. You can talk about your interests. You can talk about your involvement, all that kind of stuff. And again, the cool thing with this is that this is a public address. So even if somebody isn't logged in, they can go to this. So if you're going to go to a staffing firm, if you're going to put out your resume, any of that kind of stuff, you can put this there and people can come and they can see how cool you are, and that will hopefully get you a job. Again, beyond the profiles, if you go to the community, again, they've got all this stuff in the community so you can actually ask like real questions, you know, VSS errors, backup solution, NAS, or Windows file server on SAN. So this is a place where people actually, in fact, do answer your questions. Unlike me, if you email me a technical question, I immediately put it in the dump. I really do. And yet you guys keep sending me questions. But just so you guys know, so if you actually want your questions resolved, come to the Spiceworks community because they care about you. They care about the questions. So with that, we will call it a day, and I will see you guys next week, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday.